Mario and Luigi games and Paper Mario games. Both of them are very different from each other, but one thing that both of them obviously do have are bosses, and very enjoyable bosses at that. I mean, there are some not so good bosses, but we're going to be talking about those bosses next video. But for this video, we're going to be talking about my top 10 favorite bosses for the Mario RPGs, and they're going to be including my favorite boss from each Mario RPG I've talked about, and it's going to be a top 10. I'm not going to be including the original Paper Mario, the Super Mario RPG, or Mario and Rabbids, because I have not finished or played any of those games. So every single one will be counted for this list. Also, no final bosses, because I want this list not to be super generic, and if I did include final bosses, they would obviously be on this list. I mean, not every single final boss, but most of them would, and that's kind of boring, so I'm not going to be including them for this list. But other than that, let's get started. But actually, before we get started on this list, make sure to leave a like on this video. Let's try to hit 75 likes, and make sure to subscribe if you actually like Mario RPG content. I'm trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That might be hard, but if you do it, it might help. But other than that, let's get started on this video. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga probably has one of the weakest sets of boss fights in the entire series. I really did not know what to pick. I obviously couldn't pick Cackleta's Soul, which would have been a very obvious pick if I didn't include final bosses. Maybe the Koopalings, maybe Jajora and Jajora's friend, but then I remembered the Popple and Rookie fights. They definitely deserve to be the one representing Superstar Saga, because they're good fights. They're definitely one of the best fights in Superstar Saga, so they definitely deserve to be on this list. But the reason that they're at the bottom is because they're just so easy. I mean, people just praise like the Bros attack in the second Popple and Rookie fight. Well, guess what? I defeated Popple so fast that they actually didn't do the Bros attack. Yeah, it kind of shows how easy Popple and Rookie is in this game. But in general, I like this fight because you're fighting two enemies at once, and then there's actually charm here, unlike Jajora and Jajora's friend. And I will say that the third Popple fight isn't actually as good as the other ones because there isn't that charm, but the fourth one, when it's Popple and Birdo, is actually kind of funny, and it's actually a really fun fight. But overall, I mean, this is definitely a good set of fights, but since it's super easy, it definitely deserves to be at the bottom of the list, and it barely even made it on here. Remember in the last segment that I said Superstar Saga has one of the weakest set of boss fights in the entire series? Well, I mean, I do agree with that still, but I think Sticker Star has the worst set. Out of every single Mario RPG, Sticker Star has the worst set of bosses in my opinion, and, yeah, well, I mean, Peter Piranha's a good fight in my opinion. I do like it. It's higher than Popple and Rookie for a reason, but it's not that great. I mean, I only like 3 things about this fight. I really like the music. I think it's pretty good. Not as good as Gooper Blooper, but still a very good boss theme. I really like how basic this fight is. You don't need a thing card, and all you have to do is wait for him to get knocked over by his attacks. I also think his attacks are okay. And the most important thing about this fight is that this fight is a breath of fresh air compared to World 5. I hated World 5. It's my least favorite world in Sticker Star. So I'm so glad that I get to end World 5 with this fight. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, I could just easily defeat this fight, and it's why I do enjoy it. I mean, every other boss in Sticker Star is only okay, but at the very least, Petey Piranha is a good ending to World 5, and that's the main reason I do like this fight. And it is better than Popple and Rookie, so I guess take that as you will, but it's still not a great fight in the grand scheme of things, which is why it's only number 9. The Roy fight is a genuinely great fight. We are finally on to great fights and why this is literally the top 10 favorite bosses from all the Mario RPGs. Even though I prefer to put Black Paint Bowser on here, Roy is definitely my second favorite boss from Color Splash. Why? Well, it's because I love the concept in this fight. Roy takes all your pain away from you and all your one-up mushrooms, and he shoots it right back at you, giving you really weird effects, like you going really fast, you being groovy, you not being able to use blue cards, and you being really slow. I mean, it's some really cool effects that are very funny and very unique, again, making the fight more fun. But the other thing that I really want to mention is this fight requires the washing machine. The washing machine thing card is a requirement to get through the game, so you won't actually miss this thing card, which is such a great thing for this fight, because if it was a thing card that's just randomly hidden in the world, it would just suck. It would make this fight so much worse. But since it's so out in the open, it makes it so much better. And you have to use the washing machine to get rid of black paint. And that's very scary that there's black paint completely surrounding you. I really do like that part of the fight. And, I mean, after that, he has some really good punching attacks. I love the Roy fight. It has some really good factors on it, and it's just a genuinely enjoyable fight in Color Splash, which I really would not expect. The Bowser Jr. duo is such a good fight. For how early it is in the game, it's not really that early, but this stage in the game, I did not expect such a phenomenal fight. This is the first visit to Bowser's Castle, and we get this fight at the end. It's so great. I mean, I almost love everything about this fight. I love the attacks. They're super unique and super fun to dodge. The cannonball attack, the barrel attack, the paper airplane attack, all very fun. I also like that Bowser Jr.'s, both of them go inside their clown carts, so you can actually hit them from the side. It's a great concept. It's a little touch that makes the fight just a little bit better. I also like that this fight is not super easy, obviously with the concept, but also the unique attacks are not super easy to dodge, and since with Paper Jam in general, since there's two, you have to defeat basically two bosses, which again, is a very fun thing to do. And I'm praising this fight so much, but it's only at number 7? Well, obviously it's because the bosses after this are better, and that's the main reason for it, but the other main reason, the only flaw I can really point out with this fight, is that it's not super memorable. I really had a hard time picking what fight was going to represent Paper Jam, because even though Paper Jam was one of the best sets of boss fights in the entire series, a lot of them just merge inside my head. I just think of all of them as really good fights, so Bowser Jr. is just kind of like this as well. A great fight, but it's only at number 7 for a reason. The Elder Shroob fight from Partners in Time is just, it's so good. I mean, I love this fight a lot. It has so many good things about it, like the attacks, obviously how fun this fight is, and the concept of the fight. Well, once you get to the stage 2, obviously you think you defeat him, but you don't. He grows huge, and he brings out one of the Shroob UFOs that took you out in Holly Jolly Village, which I have to think was a very good concept because 1, you probably forgot about this UFO at this time, and 2, it's scary and threatening. I do wish that you couldn't actually alter the UFO timer with the one attack that knocks him over, but hey, I still like the addition nonetheless. I will say when I recently played Partners in Time, I was over leveled so I easily defeated him, but I do think I had a great time with this fight, and I just think he has a really good concept, and I really do like his attacks. Definitely deserves to be number 6 on this list. Blizzard Midbus, of course, was going to be number 1 for Bowser's Inside Story. Well, aside from Dark Bowser, this is one of the best endgame bosses of all time, in my opinion. I mean, Blizzard Midbus is just, it's genuinely difficult. I want to mention that. It's a difficult fight, as well as I really like the attacks. I think they're very unique and obviously center around ice, which is very good. I like the bomb attack and the snowball. That's probably my favorite. I like that Bowser gets sick. It's a very rare debuff used in this game, but it's kind of like poison, which is very nice. And again, it makes the fight a bit more difficult. I think the Snoffles as well is a really good addition because you have to inhale them, which involves Mario and Luigi, which is always a nice touch. And when you kill all 4 Snoffles, Bowser breathes out I was about to say fire, but no, it's ice, which really doesn't make sense. And it forms an ice chunk, and it blocks Midbiss's crown, which means he can't actually spawn any more Snoffles. But if you just leave the Snoffles on the battlefield and don't inhale them, they heal. They actually heal Blizzard Midbiss, which makes the fight, again, more difficult. You also have every single Bros attack and minion attack, which makes the fight more fun. And overall, it's just a really fun and unique fight. But I do want to mention, I actually think that Elder Shrooboid and Blizzard Midbiss is objectively worse than the Bowser Jr. duo from Paper Jam. But the reason why I have both of these boss fights higher is because they're so much more memorable, and they both stick in my head for being great fights. Where the Bowser Jr. duo, I actually think is better, but it barely stuck out to me. Again, I barely even remember this fight. And this is why they are above. I think that that fight's better, but this is way more memorable. And this is why it's at number 5. The Dupless fights have one of the best concepts I've ever seen in a Mario RPG. I love this fight so much. I mean, the first fight is pretty alright. I mean, he basically just attacks you like a normal boss would, kind of like a mini boss, but then he turns into a shadowy version of you. A purple shadowy version, and you kill him, you get the crystal star, bam, the chapter's over. Oh wait, no, because you turn into the purple shadowy version of Mario, so the real Mario is the purpley shadow version. So your partners go with Dupless, aka what seems to be the real Mario. And then you get Vivian as a partner, not knowing that you're actually Mario. And then you have the final fight with Dupless. I know you spelled Dupless's name, but that doesn't really count for this list. The final fight is so good, because Vivian isn't there for a couple of turns because she doesn't actually know what side to go on. I really love that your partners are fighting you. And at the beginning, it's kind of like you're the boss, because you feel kind of underpowered in this case. I like fighting the partners. I like that you're fighting Mario, basically. I mean, it's basically just a built-up version of the first Dupless fight. I love the concept. I think this fight isn't super easy. It's not as difficult as maybe like Smorg or the Shadow Queen, but I really love the attacks, the concept. The concept is, I'm just adoring this concept, and it's why it's so high on the list. It's so memorable. I love this fight a lot. The only reason it's not higher is because, I mean, I guess it is kind of easy. It's a very short fight. That's the main thing about it. It's a very short fight in my opinion, and that's why it's only number 4. But I also just think the top 3 fights are just so phenomenal, and Dupless is sadly not in that, which is why it's only number 4. This top 3 is phenomenal. I love everything about each of these fights. But most importantly, this top 3, every single one of these 3 fights are actually the best fights in the game, not the final boss. Actually, that applied to Sticker Star, but I mean, Petey Piranha isn't actually that great. But for this top 3, the 3 final bosses are really good, but these 3 bosses actually beat the final boss in quality, showing how great these final 3 bosses actually are. But obviously, Brobot, the topic of this segment. This fight, especially the second phase. The first phase, it's fine. You're fighting Luigi. It's a fine fight. He can heal, which is definitely better. But it's a normal fight. It's fine. But the second phase, Brobot, it's so fast. You're in space, and you have Squirps, I think his name is, and you get to shoot bullets at him. He has a ton of health, but you shoot so many bullets so fast, and you get the candies, the chocolate bars, that add to your power. There's some really cool power-ups, and his attacks are really fun to dodge. It's super action-packed. I love this fight. It's so good. It's so fun. It's so action-packed, like I said. The only reason why it's only number 3 is that this fight is so criminally short. If it was longer, it'd probably be one of my favorite fights in the entire Mario RPGs. Well, to be fair, it is one of my favorite fights in the Mario RPGs, but it might have actually been number 1 if it was longer. But sadly, it's only at number 3 on this list. The scissors fight is not only my favorite fight in Origami King, it is my favorite fight in the entire Paper Mario series. This fight is just perfect in my opinion. I think it's long enough where it's really enjoyable. The only critique I have is that I wish it was a tiny bit longer, and that's the only thing I can say about it. The only other reason why it's not number 1 is because I just think number 1's better by a little bit. That's the only thing about it. Everything else about the scissors fight is perfect in my opinion. It's super action-packed, you're filled with adrenaline, well, if you play it the way I'm playing it. The main problem with this fight, not for me personally, but for a lot of people, is that if you fight it like other people do, like you normally should, by just avoiding the guard and then freezing it with the Ice Volumental, it's kind of just a generic fight. I mean, he really doesn't do the one-hit KO move that much, but if you fight him the way I do, where you break the guard right away, aka the first time I actually fought him I did it this way, it is such a fun fight to do, because you are avoiding his one-hit KO move so many times. He's faking you out, he's doing it early, he's doing it later. It's so fun to dodge, and it is so exhilarating. If you mess up, it's really disappointing, but it's just so fun to dodge, and it's so satisfying, because it goes in slow mode, it has a really good, like, action to it. It's such a fun fight, it's so exhilarating. I know I'm probably rambling at this point, I love the theme, I just love everything about this fight. The only reason I'm being like this is because I'm literally gushing over this fight because I love it so much. Also, this is my favorite fight in the Paper Mario series, but the number 1 is my favorite fight in the entire Mario RPGs, and it's probably not what you're expecting. So you guys are probably very confused right now. Is that what I'm hearing? Antasma's theme? Yeah, it is. But Antasma is considered a final boss for people. Okay, that's fair. I won't include it on the list. But there is another form of Antasma in Dream Team. This is probably a very weird thing for you guys to see, because this fight is really nothing special to a lot of people. It's just another fight in the battle ring, and I guess you can say that that's true. It's just another difficult fight in the battle ring. But here's the thing about it. I already loved the original Antasma. It is actually my number 1 for the Dream Team boss ranking, so I obviously love the fight, more than Dreamy Bowser in fact. The only problem with it is that it was too easy, but everything else, I love the attacks, I love that Mario can go into a nightmare, I love Dreambert helping you, I love the theme, I love that you can actually use every single one of your Luigi attacks. All these things make it a great boss fight, but the only problem again is that it was too easy. But then Antasma X comes around. This fight has everything that normal Antasma has, but the bonus to it is that it is extremely difficult. For me personally, I got 2 hit from this fight, which is very scary, but if you get hit, it's all on yourself, because his attacks are very hard to dodge, but it's not because of the controls are bad, it's just because, I mean, you have to be very skilled to beat this boss fight, and I always had enough turns to do so. I love this fight. It's a test of endurance, it's super difficult, this is what I wanted in Antasma. If this was the actual final boss, I would have just been so happy, but sadly it isn't. But at the very least, I can refight this fight whenever I want to, and that's another reason why I love it. This is a fight that I can constantly refight, and it's so fun to do, and this is why Antasma is my favorite boss fight in the entire Mario RPGs. Thank you guys for watching this video, and thank you guys if you were at the premiere, I really appreciate that. Make sure to leave a like in this video, let's try to hit maybe 75 likes, I'd really appreciate that. Make sure to subscribe if you last this long, but other than that, G-bye.